think things are working. But can never be sure. I mean, you can't with my setup. So it's like that. Let's work on this game. Like we can do that. Um, Last time we talked about things we could do to extend the experience of the player. And in that way, we arrived at a short list of things to do. Um, One of them is going to be about coming up with extra cards that our battle card game players could collect. These extra cards would be, aside from the 50 cards the core gameplay uses. So we kind of have to be careful about what those extra cards would do. We could talk about that. But the idea that you could then make your gameplay different, progressive, new, exciting, interesting, engaging, etc., by collecting cards is sort of a obvious step. However, before we can collect cards, there is another step. And I think that's what we need to talk about today. I mean, it was a short list of things to do to augment the player experience. And one was collecting cards. Another was customizing or saving your profile, which that's what we need to talk about today because that's a necessary step in order to collect cards. So even though it's actually more important to the player experience to have cards to collect, and we should talk about those, let's put aside that really fun step to do a less fun step. Did I just say that? Yeah. We need to save data first, and then we can have cards. But also, we can have a campaign mode with progressively more difficult AI players to go against where you collect goodies like cards. That was another item on the short list. And, well, anyway, all of this actually requires that we are able to save data. Yeah. So, yeah, we need to talk about, we need to develop the ways in which the player will do this. And we need to talk about how this is going to be managed by our game systems. What we've been working on is the core gameplay, and it is relatively straightforward and in place, which is great. Let's play a little bit just to prove that point. Hey, here's a game. We can begin. The splash screen, we talked about this briefly before, is not just our first impression for the player, it's also a chance for us to do things behind the scenes to set up some of the organization we need to do. But then we go to this main menu and, obvious stuff might be here. Okay. Yes. But this is the core gameplay. We just now go to the one scene that has been our prototype game scene that we've been playing with. So this is great, but limited. There's only so much gameplay here. It's really limited. And that's not necessarily bad unless you want something more. And we need to advocate for the player beyond these 5-10 minutes of gameplay here. I mean, I think I'm being generous when I say it's 10 minutes. It's not. In the ways that we've been talking about what this game could be and should be, we started with cards, with stats. We got them to battle each other. We got formations and multiple cards to battle each other in rounds. We gather these rounds and the score between them in round 1 and round 2 and potentially round 3 if it's tied. And that's one match. And that's not bad. It's not. But it is limited. There isn't enough gameplay to engage a player for more than the time it takes to play this one match. I mean, I think that goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. In that way, we have work to do. What we talked about last time is what exists outside this core gameplay so that they play in that, sure. But then they're doing things for the long term as well, where matches are a part of that long-term progress. And we need to decide what that progress is. What kinds of things could they be working toward in the context of performing these matches over and over? The way we described this last time was, you can do this again. And the other option is to not do it again, and to quit. And so how do we get the player to not quit? Because right here, player 2 won. Yay, I won. I guess I beat the game. But this is what we're trying to save. We're trying to stop the player from wanting to do this because there's not much else to do. I mean, we talked about perhaps there's a deck of cards they collect, and I think that is where we're going. Perhaps there's a path, and I think we should call this campaign because I think it's a good idea. But even the options, actually, let's say I set, the sound a particular way or something. When I stop this game, right now, this would reset exactly the way we have it now, and my options would not be saved. Wouldn't that be nice to have that saved? Wouldn't it be nice to have my progress on the path saved? Wouldn't it be nice to have the deck of cards saved? And so, yes, we really do need to save. If we do that, then we could have a way to encourage the player to do more outside of the single matches that they do. This is okay, but it's not enough. It's a core piece of gameplay, and that's great. So now outside of that, what do we do? That's what we talked about last time. So this time, I think I need to actually start with this interface. If I just hit, I use an escape key, hotkey to get back here to the main menu, or sorry, the splash screen, because I'm trying to test this out. This is where they start, and this is where they end up here, and then they're here. In a super simple game like the one we have right now, this is all you need, right? Just hit the play button, that's it. In a more complex game that needs to save stuff, well, at least on behind the scenes, we need to save these options. We need to save whatever cards we've got, whatever we need to save our progress on the path, so that when this player comes back into this game, their progress is already saved and they can just go. But let's think a little bit further. In a slightly more complex game, you would have separate profiles. At least one profile would be necessary to save these things we're talking about. But what if there's two people who play this game on the same computer? Or what if this is an online multiplayer game? These profiles would exist that hold specific options, deck, and path information, including the name of the person, their account name, their password, right? Their recovery email, blah, blah, blah. Now, we don't need to go deep into the security and stuff. I really just want to save. But it kind of needs to be said that part of what we need to do is accommodate a player having a unique profile in the game, in this one game, so that at least more than one player could play this client application and both their progress is saved. Or a single player could have two different accounts, and one is further along, another one they restarted and they're going on a different path, or they have a different deck of cards, etc. Well, the way that would look from this point is we would probably stop them right here after they hit the begin button and ask them to sign in or sign up. I suppose you could also have a third option to be a guest, right? Where you aren't actually saving any of your data at all. In fact, we should warn them that's what that would mean. But a guest play would be this, what we already have. I mean, that's actually easy because we could just ignore saving data and all that. But if I am stopped right here, in fact, think about it, like Valorant has a separate application that exclusively is used to handle your account. And you cannot even launch Valorant without first telling the system who you are. Which profile are you using? Right? So we kind of want to do the same thing, actually. We want to assert you do have the option to save your data, and we do this with a profile, so sign up. And if you already have one, sign in, please. I have some code already. I started thinking about this in terms of two things. First, there is already some really simple player data, right? A name. But also these things, like where you are in the match. Like, first of all, because you could be a player that is not human, I reserve the right to come back and make a more complex AI, and I'm going to do that. So I want to signify that this is actually human or not. And then what they're doing as they play, and we could expand this actually to include what happens when you're on a campaign, for example. But right now we only have a gameplay loop, which is mostly right here. But we also consider at some point we might need to match humans together in a matchmaking system, or human and AI, etc. Okay. So long story short, it wasn't a whole lot of data, but I had already thought of using this. And so I just roughed this out early on. That's been there in place for a long time. Well, now that we're talking about saving more data, we should have data set up for player, their particular profile, and data for the entire game. The difference being, well, I need to really. In other projects, I've had game data saved for a variety of things, including options and progress and multiple, how do I say this? Roughly speaking, it was an RPG with multiple characters that one player might have at their disposal. So not only did I need player data, I needed character data. And so it was layers and layers of data that needed to happen. Well, we're not even there yet. And I don't know that we're ever going to get there. I don't think it's necessary. Our game is relatively simple, but we do want to hold some data for each account or profile. So this profile data This is about as much as we would want, but I was trying to think of all the things we might want to save for a character, for a player's data, including, critically, their saved cards. And what I've got is a single number, and I've got a sneaky way of figuring out how to do that. The reason why, I guess I need to describe why I'm doing this as a single number, because it's meant to represent multiple cards. In fact, we don't know how many extra cards we might add to this game. And the card is something you actually have or you don't have. Well, how does that get turned into a single number? Well, I'm being sneaky about it, but long story short, I need to think of it as a single number so I can store it in a file easily. Yeah, I'm going to make this long story short because this is not a, I don't want this to be the coding stream again, but right now our game data is super simple. It's really just profiles. It's this data. All this extra stuff is really like the most we'd ever want, and I'm just going to put it there for now. The idea being, right now I'm just saving profiles, but I could save like the options data and how loud you want your sound, for example. Right? Currently, this profile data includes the account name, their password so they can log in, their recovery email, things like that. And what is currently going on with them, because I want to be able to create the account, delete the account, edit the account, that kind of a thing. And as they play this is changing. They're gaining experience, they're playing time, they're playing more matches and winning them or losing them, blah, blah, blah. They're collecting cards. This is the progress we want to keep. Imagine as well, once we figure out what the campaigns are all about, that we add that to this data and that becomes part of it. Or it becomes part of this game data that is saved, such that, the profile is one thing, but this profile in a particular campaign is a different set of data, just to keep it simple, basically, to keep it organized. It's going to be difficult to keep anything as simple as this. We're going to want to save data, and the more data we want to save, the more we need to be organized to try and keep it simple. So that's the goal. Yeah, I did sketch out some of the code that would be used to generate a new profile number, which would be an index and a way to uniquely identify. This is garbage, by the way. This is so silly, the way to do it. So people who know what's going on realize this is terrible. But the idea is I need to have a unique number because you might change your name, but the account is the same, you see. So I can't just identify people by name. But you can add account, remove an account, and this is all blank. There's nothing in here yet. But to make an account active because you're currently playing or you've logged out, you deactivate it, etc., etc., etc. I need to think about how that's going to be done, and I'm not too concerned about it, except to say I know that that's going to be necessary. And then in terms of actually saving the data, we are counting on making it compact, making it difficult to cheat, and saving it as binary code. In other words, it is data. It is this. But even this can be reduced to binary data. That's exactly why I tried to make this a single number. And this is just a tool that is designed to point to a particular path and a file name, and then read and write. In fact, read and write when the game starts and when the game quits. like auto save and auto load, because I don't really want to think about it. Neither does the player. We don't want an explicit save button, but we could call it and say, please load or please save. And so this does use something called a binary formatter, which is an object that can take our data, which right now is simply a list of profiles, and do what's called serialization, which just means turn it into binary from whatever it was. In other words, it is this integer, a number, or a float number, or a Boolean true false value, or a string, but it can be serialized. And in that way, this works. Long story short, I open the file, write to it, close it, right? I open the file, read it, close it. It's actually not that hard. What I'm doing to read it is to say, take everything that's in that file and throw it into this variable, because now this variable will be filled with whatever was in that file, and I can read it as if I'm looking straight at this class and checking it out. In other words, there's going to be a series of profiles. One of them is going to match my player number, my player name, my player password, and I'll be able to say, oh yes, I am that profile. And so when I go into a match, you know which one to count. If I won the match, you know which one to do. If I increase my experience or play time, you know which one to do. And then when we exit, you know that data is now new and should be saved to that file. Done. At the same time, we could save our options data. We could save our we could save other data, the path or campaign data, I guess. We could do that. Well, that's fine. And actually, this works. This is the simple part. The harder part is organizing this data, frankly. And I mean organizing, not code, but I mean figuring out what's the most logical, maintainable, easy to think about way to organize what we want to save in total. And as we make the game more complicated, we're going to have to put more stuff in this. So let's try to save our sanity and make it as simple as possible. That said, I did throw in as much as I could, thinking ahead about what I would want to have saved. I think it's important to stay simple while solving future problems early. If you know it's going to be a problem, or you know it's going to be a need that you need to address. So right now, this is the highest priority need we have. If we have cards that we've collected, how do we save them? And how do we save it to a particular profile, right? And we are doing this step now so that we can actually work on this. I guess we could talk about that a little bit. I do plan on, instead of working more on this code, making the interface to sign up, sign in, or be a guest. And that's relatively straightforward, and it's more visual and fun. But briefly, I'll talk about what I expect to do with this. If I have a single number, and actually, this other idea, what was it, the account? Yeah, accounts. This is silly. This is generating a single number that is unique enough for what we want to do. It's not really unique. If this were a massively multiplayer online game, this would totally not work. But if this is done on a single client, this will totally work. I'm generating a single number that will be unique. Why? Because when I call this once, I'm going to be getting a timestamp of right now. I'm going to do that once, and then I'm going to read the second, the minute, the hour, the day of the year, how many days have passed this year. And I'm going to take the year, but I'm going to just, make it from this year. So this could be 0, actually. And I'm going to ensure that all of these values are staying separate because there could be only 60 seconds. So I will take the minutes and multiply it by 100 so that those digits stay separate from the seconds. Does that make sense? I will do the same for the hours. There can be only 60 minutes. And so effectively the seconds are there, the minutes are there, and so this can be hours, and that's separate. Same with day of the year and the year. This generates basically a million sized number, which is not terrible, but it is unique because the next time you generate a number, it will be at a different time. That's good enough for now. We should be more robust if we were doing an online game with lots of players and actually find a unique number, generate a hash number. It's fine. But I don't mind. I'm just doing this for us. But this sort of shows how you can take lots of different information. I mean, I could actually pull apart all the information here and get the right now that happened when this number was generated because this is all separate. Can we do the same thing with our cards that we have collected and pull apart a single number to find out if we have this card or that card or that card or both? Yes, we can. In effect, it is related to the idea that we have we're dealing with binary data, but I don't want to confuse the issue. I did this so that I could serialize this and save this as binary, but it's an integer number that we can use for binary data. And here's how binary works, by the way. If I have, if I'm writing numbers in a base 10 system, which is what we use, there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then there's 10, right? The 10 represents a 1 in the tens place and a 0 in the ones place. So it's base 10. You see that? Binary has 1 and 0, and that's it. To actually say 2, we use, instead of, we use just ones and zeros. And the same way that we would have like a 1 in the tens place and a 0 in the ones place, and this signifies like 10. In binary, this would signify 2 because this 1 is in the twos place. Instead of it being the ones place and the tens place, it's the ones place and the twos place. So this actually equals 2. 3 would look like this. Because this is 1 in the ones place, this is 1 in the twos place, and 1 and 2 equals 3. Well, that means that in all of the places where there can be numbers, there is the ones place, and I need to write this backwards because just like our base 10 system, this is written backwards. This is the ones place last, and this is the tens place to the left of it. We have, if I just write down 4 of these, this is the ones place, and it can have a 1 or a 0, so it can equal 1 and no more, or it could be 0. This is the twos place, and if there's a 1 in there, it means 2, right? This is 4. This is the fours place, and if there is a 1 3 digits from the left, that signifies that this equals 4. And so if you had a like a 0, 1, 1, 1, it would equal 4 plus 2 plus 1, or 7. And this is the eights place. We keep going. This is the 16th place. This is the 32nd place. This is the 64th. This is binary. This is how binary works. These powers of 2 go up and up and up and up and up. And so this is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, okay, I'll just do 8. This could represent a binary number. If you think about it like these digits, right? This is the 256, the 128, the 64, the 32. And then there's 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1. I guess this is too many. Right? 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. Yeah, let's just do these. So this, if it was 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, this would equal 0, of course. But if I did this, like we said, this now equals 1. And if I did this in binary, this now equals 2. If I did this, this now equals 3. How do you do 4? Well, you need these to be 0, and this becomes 1. So now this is 4. So if I had 1, 1, 1, this is 7. How do I do 8? Well, these get zeroed out again. This is exactly like the base 10 system. It's base 2, though. And as the next place gets populated with some number, the previous places, if you're just counting up, get zeroed out. This is the same, actually. So binary code is just ones and zeros, but they represent very large numbers. Here's 128 plus 32 plus 8. That's 168. That equals 168. So, or here's 169. You see how this works? As a nerdy exercise, try to do 100 bottles of beer on the wall and sing the song in binary. Yeah. So we can save a single number like 168. That's an integer. It's just a number. But in binary, it can actually mean a series of ones and zeros such that we know which cards this player has, 1, and which card this player does not have, 0. See? I'm being sneaky and tricky. This would save us from, first of all, having to preordain how many different cards we have, because otherwise I'd be doing something like this, like Boolean, they have the resurrect card, right? True or false. Yes, I could totally do that, but now I have to predict how many cards I want, and I have to adjust this anytime I want to add a new card to the possible cards the player might collect. Let's say we dream up 5 new cards. Well, I have to do this over again and maintain all this. It's actually a pain because that would also mess up the data that it was already saved. Imagine you have a game that's released and you say, well, here's an update. Here's some new cards you can collect. But all your data is corrupt now. Sorry. Yeah, this saves us from that. We could actually just have a new number. And because it's got values that are higher than we normally do, it would now relate to new cards that we wanted. I'm not explaining it very well, but the idea is this can be one number, and that makes it extremely flexible. So we can have any number of cards either collected or not if we turn this integer into binary. And that is my sneaky way of maintaining whatever cards we dream up, however many there are. Any player can collect any of them and any number of them. So I think it's worth it. Okay. Enough of that. I'm not explaining myself well, and this is about as far as I'm going to go with that. The idea is we already have, frankly, we already have the ability to save to a file. What we don't have is data to put in that file, frankly, because we don't have an interface to allow the player to sign up or sign in. So let's start with that interface actually, because then we could actually enter some data, and at least then when we save, which this is already happening actually. When I just started and stopped, it just read in the file and saved out to the file, even though it's empty. There's nothing there. So it's already working, but we don't have anything to put in it. Well, let's fix that, right? Let's make the interface so that when I click begin, instead of coming directly here, it actually stops us. And before it goes there, it brings up a pop-up menu. Actually, a pop-up menu very similar to this. In fact, I might just steal all this because I kind of want a couple of buttons. In fact, I want sign up, sign in, or guest. So I want 3 buttons. And I suppose eventually, if I say guest, I would like it to be a pop-up just like this that says, you will be unable to save your data, are you sure? Because that's called a confirmation pop-up, and it's either got a yes or a cancel, yes or no. And that's exactly what this is. So there's actually a couple of things we want to do. Let's get to it. After this, actually on this screen, we even have this right now. Currently have this object floating around, ready to save the current player data, and even save more than that, the whole profile, which is this larger bit of data. This object is floating around because it starts here in the splash screen and sticks around. It's already set to be separate and not be destroyed when we switch scenes. This same object, and I'll prove it right now, I'll just call this monkey. This same object is here right now saving this data, and by the way, this is how you would save data between scenes. I've switched scenes. I'm now in a different scene. I'm in the main menu scene. Yeah, main menu. So I was in Splash, now I'm in main menu. I can go to options. And the whole time that I'm bipping around these scenes and going back and forth, this is staying exactly the same. This is still here. This is not being destroyed on load when I switch scenes, even when I go in the game or come back out, or even come back to the splash screen where this started. This is still there. It's still holding all the data. And this is a valid way to maintain your game data as you switch scenes. However, I'm going to stop and talk about that for 2 seconds. When you have something that does not destroy on load, that's great. I can be here and go to the, I don't know, next level or something, and that's still holding that data, like how much health I have, or the amulet of glowness has been acquired, and I hold that in my hand, or whatever data you need your game to save. This is great, but There is an issue you need to deal with when you have this floating thing. This is a game object. It is actually in the scene, and it stays there as I go from scene to scene. If, however, I go to a scene where this object started, like the splash screen, this would be there, and so would the original. This is going to be confusing. There's two now. Okay, let me go here in the splash screen. This is that object. It started out with nothing. When I hit play, it's designed to be unparented from this and sit floating on its own. And it's set to be do not destroy on load. I have a separate script managing this called singleton by name. A singleton is what we call something that we want only to be one of. No matter what happens, I only want there to be one. And it sounds relatively straightforward. Well, then just put in one. What's the big deal? Well, think about this. Because this scene includes this object, right? And when I go loading a new scene, it loads all the objects in that scene, right? If I go to the prototype scene, it's got all the objects in that scene, right? Well, if I ever come back to the splash scene, which we often do, actually, we often do these kinds of things, how do you keep there from being two now, right? Because if one is drifting around and floating and staying with you, and you come back here, now there's two, because there's the one that's floating, and there's this one that was here as part of the scene. What do you do, right? Along with wanting to stay no matter what you do in terms of switching scenes, so that you can have data that is saved. Along with that, you often need to manage the condition where you might actually go back to that same scene. And if you do, you do not want to be that second one. The one that was in this folder is not there. Instead, this tool doesn't just say, make sure you don't destroy it when you load a new scene. It also manages if there are any duplicates. It actually removes effectively the one that was in this scene and maintains the one that's been floating around. Let's quickly look at that code because it's not insignificant. It's actually really important. The code that makes it stick around from scene to scene is actually really simple. Just ask it, please don't destroy on load, and you're asking this game object to do that. You do need to make sure that it is not parented to anything, and this is the simple way to do that. But that's it. If you want to save data, this is actually super simple. Just do that. But I make this a separate component, you notice, and put it on this game object so that this is actually the data. This is the thing that manages singletons. And I actually do that because doing this singleton operation is common. I actually do this in more than one place. I do it so often, it should be a separate tool that I can just modularly use. But to make sure that there's only one, to actually be a singleton, I have to do this, which is to say, before we start anything, while the scene is loading, let's go through and see if there are any other objects that are also supposed to be singletons. And the way that this tool is supposed to work is by name, which is not really the most robust way to do it, but it's fine because it's easy enough for me to know that I want to maintain one of these objects, and I have an object by name. Also, if I come back to this scene, it's going to be the same name. Nothing is changing it. So doing it by name is not terrible, but I go find all of the objects that are meant to be singletons, and I check to see if the same one that I am exists. In other words, I have a name and other singletons might have the same name. If they do, I want to find out about it. So I actually go through all the singletons and I see if it's not this, like I'm also going to see myself, but if I don't see myself and I see one that matches me, aha, this is terrible. I don't want a duplicate. So I am noting that one of these exists, and in that way, I need to get rid of it. This awake happens when the level starts. And the way this will play out is this will find the one that was floating around, and it will recognize that it should not cause the problem. It should not be the duplicate, and so it knows to remove itself. This pattern, the singleton pattern, ensures that if you do run into this situation, there's only one, and it prevents, no matter what this tool is meant to do, in this case, it's just meant to hold data, but it could be the thing that is playing sound, or it could be the thing that is, I don't know, doing something else in your game. If you had more than one thing playing sound, for example, or more than one thing holding data, that would be a problem for your entire system. By contrast, if I do this, but if I do this, I am assured that there is only one, and the rest of my system can always assume that this exists, or it can say, hey, something's wrong, or it can say, there's only one, and I know I can access it. It will always be there, and I can reliably manage it in one place. Okay. A save load script, like the one we use to actually save the file, is a good example of it, mostly because this is currently the place where we're saving all the data. I think we might graduate that later to include, an actual game manager to manage all the data and just have profiles be part of that. But for now, okay. So I've yammered for an hour. Kudos to you for listening. But I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to make the splash screen code handle our login, our sign up, and stuff, because it's currently not doing very much anyway, so that's easy enough. And in that way, I will be right back. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Uh, yeah. I have copy. So this is our splash screen code, and it's mostly blank actually. But part of what we are thinking we could do, and um, man, should I keep this separate actually? Yeah, make a separate tool. That sounds like a fantastic idea actually. Um, um, I should like to make a tool that this splash screen can talk to. Um, and call up when it needs to. Mostly just to keep it separate. Um, I will use a lot of the same patterns I use for my other things. Not sure that I need anything more than a couple of variables because most of it is just interface. We've done this pattern a lot, and there's no reason for me to fat finger or otherwise manually type this stuff in when it is literally right here. So I will copy this. It is going to be the same. This is why we love doing patterns. Yep. And I don't necessarily need to do that. I might actually copy more from the quit tool. Which is here. As a matter of fact, yes. Um, um, and I'll just remind you, as we copy and paste stuff, does this not say box? It should. It is a box. That's interesting. I will fix that here. As we copy and paste stuff, what we do then is take pains to be careful about going over all the things we have copied to make sure we have changed the things we want to change in this case. I'm going to figure out better names for all these things in a minute, but as I see things that I want to use in the pasted text, um, I'm going to review them to make sure they are doing what they're supposed to do. This is not a label. This is a box. Why did I do that? I did that in the thing. Let me quickly come back here and just test this. It should actually look very similar, but Silly, 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 silly. Silly me. Okay. I'm here and I do this. Yeah, that looks exactly the same. So that's good. It's fine. Okay. I thought that would be true, but I wanted to make sure. Okay, I will leave that. Buttons, yeah, I actually want these two. In fact, I may want two of them. Exit is sure. Okay. You know what? Let's just copy all of this. And again, I will review it very carefully. But I like all of this. I want it to look a lot like the pop-up box that I already have for quit on escape. So to come back and look at this. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, buttons, and I am just doing all the buttons. I'm going to have more than one. I do want to say sign up. I do want to say sign in. And I do want to have another one. Guest. So now that I've asserted a whole bunch of stuff, let's fix it because I'm sure it's not right. Why was I doing this plus 10? Why? That seemed weird. Why was I doing that? I almost want to go back and look at my quit on escape code to feel like, to understand what was I doing there. But I'm not concerned about it. I will just move on and come back to it later. So this is the size of the box. I'll adjust that. The numbers I will adjust later. It's the size of the buttons, but I know for a fact I need to have this shifted over because there's 3. And yeah, you can't cancel. This is actually why I want guest. Because I would prefer, in fact, I would prefer that guest just went straight there. For now, that totally works. Sign up, we're creating an account. Sign in, we have an account and we're just logging in and making sure our password matches. And then we're using that account. Guest says, forget it, we're not going to save any data. And I'm not doing a thing, basically. Because our game already does effectively what I want here, which is nothing, right? Don't have any profiles yet, so guest would actually work there. Okay. This position is going to change. I don't know exactly to what yet, but I'm pretty sure I need to make this something else. So just move these numbers left and right a little bit. I probably need to make this wider, I imagine. So I'll just play around with that. Yeah, mean, I'm just taking wild guesses at these numbers right now, but I should see. Let's make this 7, and let's make this a number that is half of what's left over, which is 3. So half of 3 is 1.5. 1.5. So, okay, 15% on either side, 70% wide. That should do. I'm taking a wild guess because what I need to do now is make a game object, throw this code on it, and test it out. Yeah, that sounds like a decent name for it. Invisible object with some code. That's all the time. In this case, I should be able to just hit this pop-up checkbox, yeah? There we go. Cool. So when it is on, I want it to look like this, except not like that at all. Let's fix this. Well, I think this number could be a lot bigger, don't you think? Make this text bigger. There we go. It probably doesn't need to be this wide, right? This keeps it centered, but it is 10% thinner. That's fine. That looks fine to me. I do want it on top of the... No, that's not true. It's only when you click begin, so actually begin is going to be gone. I do want it on top, though. Can I have the ability to adjust that, do I not? I do. Depth, I think is what it's called. I forget if it's positive or negative. I forget. It is negative. Okay, so now we're in front. Good. Again, I'm working on a pattern I use all the time. This is a very old style of working with the GUI. And this is called after the frame is rendered and then goes down, as program flow always does. I'm using that because, like here, I'm saying everything should be at a depth that is on top of whatever else has been rendered, including that other button that we already have. I'm using it, again, reusing the rectangle, reusing the style, reusing all this stuff. So as it goes top to bottom, I'm actually changing these variables and then drawing like a button, or I'm drawing a box, or I'm drawing a label, and then I just keep going and I change these variables again and draw again. This is drawing, and so it stays there. And I'm free to just do that all the way down the function. Okay, so I do want to adjust this. Let's see. Sign up. Sign in. Let's go. Shift that over a little bit. Okay, not that much. We are a width of 1.5. Yeah, great. Let's adjust the readability first, and then I'll fix everything else later. So yeah. Make the font bigger, and then I'll adjust everything to fit. Okay, that's better. Yeah, that size is pretty good. It's not bad. Um, our box itself is 20% from the left, right? It is. Yeah. So, I mean, this isn't bad. I think I'm more upset with the width than anything, but you know what? I'll just figure out the math. It's not terrible. Instead of 4.5, we'll go 4.25 and centered. Yes? Yes. Okay. And 6.75 plus blah, 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 blah. I'll just eyeball it and fix it. How about that? Let's say 6 and see if we're close. We are done. So that looks fine. What I expect is the player is going to click one of these buttons and I think that's good. I think that'll work. Yeah. We'll have this pop up when they hit begin. Right? So I want my splash screen to talk to my login manager. These two separate scripts need to talk, which means I'm going to refer to the other from one. Where is my splash screen? I'm going to get rid of all, I don't need to have all this other stuff up. I will come back and play with this off stream. I don't need to do it for you guys. Splash, there we go. I would like, do I need to refer to it globally? Probably not, actually. When I hit begin, I'm going to have the login pop-up manage when and how we make our way to the main menu. In other words, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to the main menu anymore. I am going to get rid of this button, however. Okay. So I want to remember whether or not we are showing this button. Yes or no. It's a Boolean variable. I want to say, sure, begin button, why not? And by default, I want this to be true. Yes. Okay. That's good. And so if this is true, actually, I'll just leave all of that right there and say if begin button and, okay, because I'm able to check the value of this Boolean variable. The way that this is written, this will read left to right, and it will actually execute this. By the way, this is why we draw the button when we're asking the question, has the button been pressed? This is an if statement. It's got a condition. This is going to return true or false. True if on this frame, the button is being pressed. Well, what happens if it's not? Well, either way, if it is or it isn't, this is still being executed. What this function actually does is draw the button. So whether it is being pressed or not, it is still being drawn. Nice, right? But we are also able to tell if it's being pressed. That's what we were using to go to the main menu. Well, detail about these conditions, this if statement, is that it is reading from left to right. And I've got a couple of ampersands here that signify and, the word and. It's a logical and. It means that both this side of the equation and this side must both be true. in order for this entire condition to be true and to do whatever it is I want to do here. So I need the begin button to be active and the button to be pressed. But more than that, I've put this condition together like this because it will actually check this first. And if this is not true, if the begin button Boolean variable is false, it will stop right there and it won't even draw the button. So this is how I'm actually going to stop it from drawing the button at all. I'm going to say, if you have clicked the button already, please say begin button equals false. This will stop it from being drawn. If I did, this is what it was before. This will always draw the button, and it will be true if the button is pressed on that frame. If I did this, this would always draw the button, but it would only accept the button press if it was also, this was also true. So this is significant that I did it in this order, because the compiler will actually stop execution right here, which is really helpful. It's helpful to know, and I'm using that knowledge to make this work. So I'm going to stop it from drawing the button at all once you have clicked it. What would I like to do? I need to go find find object of type. And I'm looking for the one that says login pop-up. Okay. This is, there is going to be one in the scene. I should actually validate that and make sure that it's there, but you know what? No. I can actually take the return value of this from right here and say, please pop up equal true. This is me being a bit lazy, but I'll come back and clean it up later. The idea being, when I click the button, this will be false. But before that, I'm actually going to go tell the login pop-up thing to activate. Let's see if that works. Let's test that. Test that theory, excuse me. If I click, it should turn one variable off, which means this won't be drawn anymore. It should turn another variable on, which means the pop-up should show up. Let's try it. Boom, yay. So that's what I want to happen, and we can go to our thing. So if we come back to the thing, it's there, and then we click, and then we can select this. So these do nothing right now. This sends to the thing. Okay, cool. What I'm thinking, because this is fine, like the guest part of it is working great. That means we're 2/3 of the way done. What I'm thinking is sign up has almost the same information you need. Sign in really only needs your name and password, right? But I think it's standard. Sign up also requires an email that you use to recover. Sign in, by the way, also has a button you can press to reset your password. This is where it would use the email, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, I'm probably going to shortcut this and just say sign up creates some profile data, sign in allows you to check against the password you did, and says no, that's not right if it's wrong. I think that's good enough for now. What that means is I need to resize this pop-up to accommodate a little more information. So I want to have it come up a little more. Maybe change the title to like create profile when you do sign up. And say, I guess I'll keep it as profile access when you say sign in. Sure, why not? But either way, there's going to be profile name, profile password. For sign up, there's also going to be a third one that is your email. And I suppose a button to say I'm done. And I think we need a cancel button as well. I think we need a cancel button actually, because you can cancel and come back maybe here, or even come back here, like here, if you cancel. Okay, so done and cancel, or accept and cancel, I think is probably more appropriate. So 2 buttons at the bottom, either 2 or 3 fields which you can type in, and changing the title of the box for sign up, making the box a bit taller, I think. Okay, so I'm gonna, this is why I made it a separate tool, because this is gonna do more than just a few things. I like to keep that separate. And by describing that behavior, what I've actually done is I've begun to describe more than a few states I would like this one login tool to manage. Oh, it's nice and infuriating that Visual Studio silently includes namespaces for me, because it's great. In this case, that worked fine, but a lot of times I just get garbage up here in my namespace block. Login phase, sure. I should probably find a better name for that, but I'm not going to worry about it. The idea being, there are stages in login that we want to manage. Default is what I typically start with, but we might be signing up, and we might be signing in. And I think we need to have also a guest confirm, a confirmation phase, where if you pressed guest, it's going to be like, you know this means you're not going to be able to save your data, right? Is that okay? And you can say no, and it would effectively cancel. Or you could say yes, and it would go to the main menu like we do now. This is elegant. It's supporting the player experience and making sure that you don't mess things up. I like the idea of canceling and going all the way back to the begin button. That's actually kind of cool. So we'll plan for that. Okay, but these phases now help us because I probably don't need to make this public. But now our tool can effectively be in different stages. We do something similar when we go from our table view to our card view. Any turn-based game would leverage something like this, but lots of data is going to be one and only one thing. Character classes, etc. There's lots of different ways you might use that kind of data, but I like it for this. This is going to be clean, so I can just ask what phase am I in, and change how I'm adjusting this pop-up box, for example. I think it's safe to say this is good for default, right? That's what it was. But if we are in another phase, like the sign up, right? Or sign in, I think is probably safe to say at this point. If the phase is either of those, I actually want the box to be starting a little bit up from this. I will have to test. Also a little taller, yeah. So 40% of the screen space. Let's see. This would be centered because 40% tall, and then on either side is 30%. So 30 and 30 is 60, plus 40 is 100. Centered. Okay, good. We can test that by simply, please change the phase when we click these buttons. No big deal, right? Phase equals sign up, or phase equals sign in. So we can test this, and this is a best practice. We test as we go, right? Our theory is we're going to have a centered box that looks a little better. We say sign up. That's not enough room. So, other things about this were okay. But no, let's fix this. Okay, I'm gonna minimize it and do it from here because it's just faster. I would like this to start up there and then to be taller, so probably 5. You know what? Even further than that. Let's just, we don't have to have it centered anymore. It's okay. Because we need room for a few fields to type in plus buttons. So you know what? I'm gonna go further. Yeah. Might be too far. So with this code driving the drawing of this GUI stuff, it's really helpful to have the play button on, and I'm adjusting the code and have it hot update code. So it draws it and I can see the difference. Okay. I'm going to copy this because if I also want to adjust, say, the buttons, I can. I'm going to pretend I'm going to reuse these buttons here. The one on the far right and the one on the far left. And I'm going to repurpose them. In fact, I kind of want to do this later in the process, down here. See how I have this pattern of adjusting the rectangle, adjusting the style, and then adjusting the text. I kind of want to do the same within this block, so I'm going to do that. Just keep it organized. Okay. Okay. So in that way, I can ask this question once and do all the changes at the same time. I will, in that way, adjust the text if the phase is sign up, because as I mentioned, I would like it to say create new account. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to say account access, and that's fine. Oh, profile access. Keep the terminology the same. Words really do matter. The names of things matter. The labels on things for the user definitely matter. So for the user, it should probably be called one thing. Let's just assert that it is profile. For us, fortunately, I've already started calling it different things, but I might fix that. Okay. Yeah. If we're doing this, I want to change this name to be cancel. Meaning this is now a cancel button because we are either signing up or signing in. Or actually, yeah, if it's not default. Because no matter what, I kind of want this. Oops. Shoot, I'll take that back. No matter what, I want to use a button that is for cancel, whether it is sign in or sign up. And I think also for other things I want to do that, confirm. Absolutely. So I'm going to say if I'm also going to hide this button, do that same trick. As long as I want to draw the button, as long as the phase equals default, and then you can draw the button. Okay, so I'm being a little tricky about it, but I think this is fine. This will now say accept as a way of accepting that you are signing in or signing up and you've entered your information correctly. Let's test this. Okay, so there's our pop-up. We say sign up and it changes the look, and of course it's all crazy. Well, that's not right. Oh, right. I just duplicated these numbers. Like I said, copy and paste. We have to be careful about what we've pasted, yeah? Okay. It's literally stretched. The button's the same size as the box. And no. Where's the bottom of this box? It is a height of 6'5", starting from this 2'5". So it goes all the way down to 9. Well, right. I think I want the height to remain the same, actually. So I don't even need to do anything. But the position it starts from is going to be down here, right? Oh, too far. Cool. I will do the same thing for the button. I do not need to adjust the height of the button. Okay, so And when I say cancel, it does one of two things. See, this is a little tricky, but not a big deal. I want to say if this is, yes, actually I'm going to use the same pattern just to keep it easier to maintain. If it's either of these other phases, right, and not default, let's see. We could be in the default or the sign in or the sign up or the confirm. You know what? Let's see all three of these. Here's what I want to say. Sorry. It's not default. Okay. Now I'm silly. Yes. I think I'm silly. Okay. All right. So if it's default, we have clicked the guest button and we're going to the main menu. We're going to change this later. In other words, I will write myself a note to do, guest confirm. Okay. Otherwise, we are in one of the other phases. We're in sign up, or we are in sign in, or we're in the guest confirm. And if that's true, we've actually clicked the cancel button. Yeah. In which case, I do want to do something special. First of all, pop-up is going to equal false. But also, I need to tell our splash screen to come back to life, please. Find object of type splash. And again, I'm being lazy about it, but I'm going to go ahead and say begin button should equal true. This is exactly the opposite of what we just did for the splash screen. We're saying these two scripts sort of hand off control by flipping a Boolean variable on the other. Both splash screen and login have these checkboxes that are available and are accessible to the other. So when I click the begin button, it knows to turn this off and knows to turn this on. And that's exactly what's happening. By the same token, if I do this and click cancel, I want it to go back. So boom. Cool. Oh, right. We want to reset the phase, don't we? Yes, we do. See, that's why we test. I'm going to turn the phase back to default. Okay. And come right back to testing just to make sure that we fixed that issue. From begin to this, and if we say I want to sign up, oh wait, no I don't, comes back here, and that's fine. If I say begin again, I actually wanted to sign in, and that works great. Cool. Again, we do this, that's all good. Really, I don't need to reset the phase if I'm coming here, because this is actually switching scenes. And when I come back to my splash screen, it's reloading all of this. In other words, starting from scratch. So this is already default. Otherwise, I would have to set that. Right. There's a couple of things. We're not going to deal with the guest confirm just yet, but I do want to well, actually, yeah, let's do the guest confirm. Because it literally is the same pop-up, just reformatted and stuff. So, not bad. Starting to think this condition is true if, right? But actually want to use that because I really only want to shift this around when it's one of those. This is lowering the button, and I really only want to do that when the box itself is changed in size. But we're going to have a guest confirm that also uses the cancel button, and it doesn't change the size, so I don't really want to adjust the position of the button. By the same token, I think we want to do the same thing here, actually. Looking at it, like precisely the same thing. Yeah, as a matter of fact. Because accept is also kind of what we're saying when we have the confirm stuff. Let's do this. This says change the box size, and I don't want to do that if it's confirm. This guest confirm, you'll see what it looks like in a second. What we're trying to do is make sure the player understands, hey, if you go forward, you're not saving your data. Are you sure? This is a LCF. And we are not changing size, position, box. We're just changing this. It's probably a little long. Let's test it. Oh, I need to actually implement that. Okay. So this button is the guest button by default. So go to the guest confirm phase. After that, you're either going to cancel, which we've already done, or you're going to accept, which is here. Okay. And I think this is fine if we say right, this is now able to handle what should happen when this is a guest confirm pop-up. Do that. Okay, so I am reusing and reusing and reusing, and it's a little confusing when I do that, but notice how fast this got put together. begin. Profile access, sign up, sign in, guest, and guest. Your data will not be saved. Do I need to capitalize it all that? No. No, I don't. But if I cancel, she comes back here. And if I accept, it goes there. That's correct. What else? Sign up is this, and if I accept or cancel, it goes there. Sign in, cancel, yes. So we've done everything except for the accept for these things, and that looks correct. Okay, I'm gonna fix this before I move on. But that's good, right? Cancel means don't do that. Accept means do. Yeah, cool. That's cool, right? That's not bad. And that means all of this is already there. Except the entering of text, right? We're sitting here, we're getting ready to play this game. We say begin, and we can play as a guest, sure. No big deal, we're done. We're playing the game. It's exactly what we already had. But if we decide instead to do a profile, we can sign in. If I just put these text fields here, why is this? Right. The mouse position is being used to determine when to highlight the button. And my code is detecting that it is in the position that it once was in. Right? Because I'm repurposing all this stuff, this is now incorrect. You see that? So when I actually hover over this, it's not the same as hovering over that. Let's fix that. There was a detail. Good thing I tested. This is looking at the mouse position and dealing with that. Here. So we've adjusted the position. Oh yeah, that's not a big deal. Let's just do it after. This is fine. We'll just do it after. So this is breaking the pattern a little bit, but it's necessary and not a big deal. Things were consistent, right? I'd like that space between these things just to keep it clear. I'm doing that. All right. That little detail fixed. Good. So these hover, oops, what's going on? Why? Why? Box, button. Button, I guess. Yeah, why actually? I guess I don't need to do that after here, but I'm still confused. Why is this problem? Changing the font style, and that's why I'm doing it there, but like, why did shifting that change anything? Oh, because I draw the button. Oops, actually put it after I drew it. Duh. Okay, so no, that was not the pattern. That was garbage. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. All is right with the world. Yes. Oh, this currently sends it to the other one, which is not what we're gonna do. We'll fix that. The accept buttons are the only ones we haven't done anything with yet. Accept that. So, that is what we would do next if I were concerned about continuing with this work right now. I'm not. It's a hobby, and I've streamed for a couple of hours already, and I'm sure this is like one of the least exciting streams I've done on this game so far. Let's see, interface and memory management. Yay! But what this really means is that we can collect cards. This really means that we can gain experience for our players, that our players can, you know, they could have their own custom stuff. I mean, yeah, actually, it is kind of cool. Without it, it's a much less exciting game, and that's exactly what we're working towards. So, yeah. Um, I um, yeah, this actually only does the sign in if we are at phase default. Sorry. Well, sign up. If we're in guest confirm, we do that. Else, if we are at default, yes, and do this. Otherwise, we need to do other things, and we haven't really decided what that is yet. Right? I mean, yes, I will just finish this up, and then we will stop stream. What was that? Sign up. We will do something. We're signing up, and that's so. In other words, we're accepting. That's what this button is. That we have either appropriately entered the information to create an account, create a profile, excuse me, or we are logging in. So the code for this is like, go check the information we have on this account, try to match the password because we've entered a password here, and let's see if it matches. If so, then yes. Otherwise, no. Right? There's other things we have to do here. And this says, go check to make sure this information doesn't already exist. If it does, say no. Otherwise, make a new account. And then probably go forward into the main menu. Both these could go to the main menu if you've logged in correctly, or if this is a new account that's all been created. I'm sure that's fine. Because either way, what we've done is provided a gate to make sure that if you are passing through this splash screen, you absolutely have either decided to forego saving your data, guessed, or you've absolutely signed in with your own account. And we're good to go. That's what we're going to do. So yeah, I'll add some fields that have a little label on there that say like name, password, recovery email or something like that, or name and password, and a button, I think, to recover. That's what this needs. Yeah, I do need to use that center button again, don't I? Yeah, I do. Right, accept, cancel, or recover. Typically, this is a different looking hyperlink that says recovery. You forgot your email or something. I forgot your login or something. Because for UX, that makes sense. You don't want to accidentally click a button you don't want. But in this case, I think this is big and fat and obvious enough that I can get away with just saying recover is the third button. I'll do that. No big deal. Checking to see that the password matches, not a big deal. Looking up to see that the account doesn't already exist, not a big deal. Am I going to worry about actually emailing and blah, blah, making sure the email is correct? No. I'm just going to do the bare minimum for our purposes, at least for now, such that we have some reliable accounts that are managed enough that we could just get to it and have some cards to save, have some path to progress to save. In other words, I want to get to doing the extra cards, and I want to get to doing the campaign and that kind of thing, so that we can do more than just this core game loop. And I have this core game loop mean more than just this 5 minutes of gameplay, right? To get there, doing that legwork to get that done. I think I could do a lot of that off stream. It's not a big deal. So I think we're good for the development stream today. I've got other things to do. You've got other things to do. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Please do show up on stream and follow and join in to contribute your ideas and to make this game also your own, right? Yes? Okay. So I think that's good. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a good day. And again, follow, like, subscribe, retweet, whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. Have fun. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.